Have you ever heard of the maiden drum? It was made from the skin of 16-year-old girls' backs. For thousands of years, such drums were continuously crafted and used by monks as ritual instruments. And all of this came from Tibet, China, before its liberation. The Potala Palace in Tibet is a place many Chinese people long to visit. For a long time, there has been a saying, "A journey to Tibet can cleanse the soul. It is the place closest to heaven." But before liberation, Tibet was nothing short of a living hell. The human skin drum was a ritual instrument used by high lamas, Tibetan Buddhist monks, in their ceremonies. At that time, these lamas believed that young girls, untouched by the world, were pure and sacred. A ritual instrument made from their skin was thought to connect the realms of the living and the dead. In Old Tibet, before liberation, belief in spirits and deities was deeply rooted, and ordinary people fully accepted the lama's supreme status. The process of making the maiden drum was horrifying beyond imagination. The drumhead had to be made from the skin of virgins between the ages of 12 and 16. They would be bound into a posture of devotion, and then mercury was poured into the crown of their heads, separating their skin from their flesh. Even when a complete sheet of skin was finally removed, the girl's consciousness remained clear. The entire process was excruciating and cruel beyond words. From the day they were chosen, their tongues were cut out and their ears pierced deaf, so they could neither speak nor hear any impure words that might taint their pure souls. My sister could not speak since childhood. She left home when I was old enough to understand the world. This line comes from the Chinese song The Maiden Drum. On the surface, it tells the story of a younger sister missing her mute elder sister, but in truth, it reflects the suffering of the lower class in that dark era. In the Tibet Museum, there are still bone ritual instruments on display. They were made from the thigh bones of adult serfs. After both ends were shaved down, they became horns used in religious ceremonies. The lamas of old Tibet believed that the sound of these instruments, deep and lingering, could calm the mind and guide the soul. Tibetan lamas had another ritual instrument called the damaru. It was also made from human skin, along with a pair of skull caps from a young boy and girl. The chosen children had to come from the most devout families. Whenever a high lama needed to make such an instrument, the believers would willingly offer their own children, firmly believing that this was a way for them to ascend to godhood more quickly. You might think that such cruel and incomprehensible objects existed only in the hands of a few. But in fact, they were everywhere in Old Tibet. Almost every monk possessed a set of them. For example, in this painting of a Tibetan monk from 1920, the monk holds a damaru in his right hand, while a horn made from a human leg bone hangs from his waist. Now take a look at this image. It is an old Tibetan scroll painting made from human skin, known as a tang ka. Almost every high lama's chamber was adorned with dozens of such tang kas, yet each one represented the death of a young girl. Traditionally, tang kas were made of cloth or silk, but because human skin was far more flexible and absorbent, it would not crack or fade even after years of being hung indoors. For this reason, the high lamas preferred to make thankas from human skin. The reason such things were so common was that, across the vast land of Old Tibet, there were only three classes of people: lamas, nobles, and serfs. Serfs made up more than 90% of the population, yet they were the private property of the nobles. Though their lives were given by their parents, they could only exist under the shadow of their masters. The nobles, who never had to worry about food or clothing, still had to crawl at the feet of the lamas. The lamas held the highest social status and authority on this land. As devout believers, the nobles offered their wealth, and even their people, to these so-called high lamas without question. When a lama was about to perform a ritual and asked for 2 human heads, a piece of human skin, 3 lengths of intestines, and 1 thigh bone, the nobles would immediately send men to seize serfs and deliver whatever the lama required. In their eyes, serfs were nothing more than talking livestock and walking tools. Every part of their bodies belonged to their masters, and even execution was permitted on this land. On the highest land in the world, they felt the deepest pain. Beneath the Potala Palace in Tibet lies a dungeon that even people today can hardly bear to speak of, the snow prison. Anyone who entered this place almost never came out alive. Just the first two forms of torture, whipping and the worm curse, were enough to break most prisoners. But did these serfs really commit unforgivable crimes? Perhaps a noble was simply in a bad mood that day. Perhaps the serf had dozed off while working. Or perhaps he had simply grown too old to be of use. Before liberation, old Tibet was filled with injustice and oppression. A serf's child was born a serf, destined to repeat the same tragedy as their parents. They had no freedom, no dignity, and no matter how hard they worked, it was impossible for them to change their fate. Even after endless labor, 70% of what they produced had to be handed over to the nobles as rent and taxes. At that time, there were more than 200 kinds of taxes in Old Tibet. Taxes for raising cattle and sheep, taxes for farming the land, even taxes for giving birth to a child. If a serf made a mistake and was beaten to death by their master, their family would still have to pay a corpse collection tax to retrieve the body. For thousands of years, their faith had taken root too deeply. Even if it meant losing everything, they would still deliver their taxes to the nobles. After a whole year of hard labor, the serfs still couldn't fill their own stomachs. As the serfs themselves once said, even if the river turned to milk, we would never get a single sip. This way of life continued until 1951, when the People's Liberation Army of China fully liberated Tibet, bringing it to an end once and for all. 1 million Tibetan serfs were finally freed from this distorted and brutal system of slavery, and for the first time, they became masters of their own fate. Today, Tibet is beautiful and vast, drawing countless visitors from around the world. And now you understand why people say that a journey to Tibet, a visit to the Potala Palace, can cleanse your soul. Because when you come here, when you learn about its history, you will realize that all the wrongs you've ever done are nothing compared to what once happened on this land.